Members, we have formed a quorum. I'd like to take up some matters with members first. The term of this subcommittee has been extended by the House Committee to the 30th of September 2015. But if we haven't got to the bottom of the matter, we'd like to carry on, right? At least we need to know the final results. So at least this subcommittee will last until the current term of this council. Let's take the long-term view. Let's fight for every inch.
I希望最低工資嘅翻版。
I hope this is what the minimum wage was. We want to repeat what we had. And if we can also have the legislative timetable, so much the better. Members, today we have the Secretary for Labour and Welfare and Principal Assistant Secretary for Labour and Welfare, Ms. Stella Chang, Principal Assistant Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Ms. Susanna Lai. Members, please refer to the paper from the Administration CB 2711/01. We also got the executive summary of the research report on future development of retirement protection in Hong Kong. And I believe members have also received submissions from different organizations. So over to the Secretary for introduction to the paper number 711. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. This is a brief paper on retirement protection, in which we set out the relevant paragraphs in the CE's policy address. And this is actually verbatim summary. And we attach importance to this. And we are financially committed. Don't think that this is just routine, the report. Actually, these paragraphs set out the policy and the commitment. The CE referred to in his policy address in respect of the old age living allowance. More than 420,000 elderly people are on OLA. The total number is 1.5 million. And also, reference has been made to the research team led by Professor Nelson Chow, and their efforts are highly appreciated. The administration took the initiative to ask Professor Chow to lead the team to carry out our research, because we considered it appropriate to have a objective and comprehensive review in the light of an aging population in Hong Kong. And we are grateful to Professor Chow's team for coming up with this report, which is of a high reference value. And that will provide a basis for our future studies. And the CE also set out some other details in the policy address. I don't need to repeat all of them. As he set out in the policy address, there's a controversial issue involving the universal retirement protection, especially the universal element. Based on past experience, when you want to introduce something universal, that would involve contribution by the employer and employee, or the introduction of a new tax, well, it's difficult to get a consensus. That's the case back in the 1990s, and in more recent times, that's also found to be true, and it's difficult to get a consensus. So this is a very honest depiction of the situation. Retirement protection is an important social issue, in the words of the CE in his policy address. In the coming few months, the Commission on Poverty will have a lot of things to take care of. Mr. KK Fong and Mr. Peter Cheung and Mr. Michael Tin and another member are on the Commission. So members will be aware of the deliberation of the Commission on Poverty. Let's pool our wisdom and get things done. In the coming few months, what are we going to do? Well, it's going to make all the necessary preparation for the public consultation in the half of the year. And that is, they need to decide on the framework of consultation, the contents of the consultation exercises, the roadmap, and the timetable. So the Commission would have an in-depth discussion on all these topics, and they would have to be objective and forward-looking. And at the end of the day, we may have a consultation document, or we may have a framework for consultation. And I expect concrete proposals to be ready at that time. We will not be talking about principles only. And very likely, we are going to refer to the contents of the report submitted by Professor Chow, and also the figures and statistics provided by the CNS department. And we need to pay attention to a few things in respect of retirement protection.
Financial sustainability is the first thing. Second, affordability. So who is going to pay? And thirdly, if it's a tripartite contributory scheme, and if it's coming from the tax revenue, then would it be acceptable to the community as a whole? And also, the scheme itself will also have to be pragmatic and practicable. We also have to bear in mind the fact that we have an aging population which is growing very rapidly, and also the fertility rate will also be low. And since starting from 2018, for the labor force, we're going to see a decline from 3.71 million to 3.3 or 3.1. So that would also have an impact on our economic growth. So all these factors will have to be set up very clearly so that we can have a very clear idea. So please do not look at this with a tainted glass. So we would like to conduct a genuine consultation. We are very serious about this. And also, let's not forget that the MPF system is also undergoing a lot of improvements, including the fee charging mechanism and also more choices for the workers and so on. So in the next year or so, a lot of work will be carried out, and we're going to come up with a bill, and we will be looking at the latest developments, and we'll be giving you an account shortly. And if you look at para 119, actually it sets out the administration's commitment in terms of improving the situation and what we're going to do. The administration fully agrees that we have to improve the retirement protection for those in need. That's why, in order to demonstrate our determination and commitment, the Financial Secretary will be setting aside some $50 billion to provide for future needs. And I'd like to emphasize that this is not just a casual remark. In fact, it's a clear commitment on our part to the community, and we hope that there can be more room and more time so that the Commission on Poverty, led by the Chief Secretary, which is broadly representative and which is also widely recognized. We have academics, labor representatives, and also community leaders, district council chairman, and there are different working groups under the COP, and we hope that we can be given more room to maneuver so that we'll be able to maintain a very close liaison with this subcommittee. And if you have any views or comments to make, we'll be more than happy to bring it back for discussion. And we would like to identify the best path for Hong Kong's elders so that we can all work together for their well-being. Thank you. All right. So let's see if members share your confidence. So Peter Cheung, Lee Chek Yen, and Leung Yu Chung. First, Peter Jiang, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. 4 minutes each. 4 minutes each. But today we have to come to a decision. Honestly, if we were to decide whether we are going to go for it or not, then I think it's better to make a decision today so that we will not be wasting our own time. And there are only two considerations. Either it's universal or it's not universal. If it's universal, what we know from Professor Nelson Chow's study is that he has already come up with different options, and after consolidating all the comments and research data, he has now come up with a package, and we're talking about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So let me simplify the whole issue, and it boils down to OAA, and also that is old age allowance, and then OALA, the old age living allowance, and also the amount equivalent to CSSA payment. So between the two, if we were to make a comparison, so just imagine which package would the administration prefer. If it's non-universal, then where would the money come from? Well, if it's universal, then from what we have seen from the projection by Professor Chow, by 2041, we'll be exhausting the $50 billion reserve for that purpose. And if it's to go beyond 2041, because in 2041 we're going to have a peak in our population, and then in 2060, starting from 2060, the population will come down again. So are we going to put in another $50 billion so that we'll be able to take care of those in need? So that is something that we can think about. And if it's to be non-universal, then we might also need to make some projections. For example, this year is 2015, all right, for the elderly CSSA, we're going to spend about $10.7 billion, and then OALA, we spent about $12.3 billion, and then for OAA, we're talking about some $3 billion, and then for the Guangdong Portable Scheme and also the Fujian Portable Scheme, we are talking about some $500 million. So in total, it's about $26 billion. And today, if we were to spend $26 billion, and according to the population projection, by 2040, we may have to double it, so that we will have to multiply it by more than 2 times, and then that would amount to some $774.2 billion. So if it were to be paid for by the administration, then it will have to come from tax revenue, because there is no other source of income without the contribution from the employers and employees, and we will have to rely on the salaries tax or the or profit tax in order to get the revenue for that. So by that time, workers will have to make a heavy commitment on that. But then if it's to be a tripartite scheme, and if we were to make savings starting from today, then we will be saving for at least 20-30 years, and the money will roll over and be carried forward. Let's see what's the difference between the two. In the end, it boils down to whether or not you'd like the administration to pick up the whole cost, and then if it doesn't work out that way, then it will have to increase tax, or by the time when it doesn't work, then the administration will have to cut it all together, so that you have to be left to fend for yourselves. And if it's to be universal or non-universal, then we will have to stigmatize people. We will have to label this group of people as the needy ones. So do we really want the community to be divided that way? So I'll be allowing the Bureau Director to respond to that later. Next, Lee Chut-Yan. It's difficult for us to have faith in the administration. All right, we've been talking about retirement protection for many years since the Donald Tsang era. You have not been able to submit your homework, so to speak. All right, initially we thought that by asking Nelson Chow to do the job, we thought that you had sincerity. But then apparently from what you said just now, you seem to be very pessimistic about Professor Chow's package, because from the very first statement, you seem to be suggesting that Nelson Chow's package is not going to work. And you said that in the second half of this year, you're going to conduct another round of consultation. What are you going to do? So will you be including Professor Chow's package in your consultation? And are you suggesting that we should not pocket Professor Chow's package if you're so inclined towards not accepting Professor Chow's package, if you're so inclined to overturning the proposal to have a universal package, then why don't you just tell the community in Hong Kong that Professor Chow's package is not going to work, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to introduce a universal retirement protection package, and then all elders will be asked to come forward to protest because they've waited for so long and yet nothing has come about. So you asked us to have confidence in you, and you said that you attach a lot of importance to that, but then in the end, you're just attaching importance to vote down or to veto Professor Chow's package, and you're putting in $50 billion. Is that kind of deposit so that we can have confidence in you? But then for healthcare insurance, you've also put in $50 billion, and now it's not being put to any use at all. So in the past, you might have said, or you might have pledged a lot of money, and in the end, you might not need to use it at all. So you're talking about $50 billion. I don't know how the money is going to be used for. So can you answer the question? And then you said that 6 months later, you're going to conduct public consultation. What are you going to do? Because you're trying to veto Professor Chow's package. So you're going to do this very leading consultation. So is that what you're trying to do? So that you're asking the community not to support a universal scheme, so that they would not be supporting a contributory scheme? Is that what you're trying to do? And then in the end, you don't have to do anything at all, and then all you need to do is to increase the amount under the OALA. Is that what you're trying to do? Bureau Director, can I be given a bit more time, because 3 minutes might be a bit too short? So can I be given 5 minutes instead? All right, I'd like to respond to the remark made by Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen. I think in your argument, you have misunderstood the administration stance. First of all, Professor Chow, from the very beginning, we never said that we'd like to denigrate him and we'd like to veto his proposal. But that's what you suggest in para 115. So you're objectively criticizing him. But then we have heard voices asking for universal retirement protection, and we must not ignore those voices. And in terms of financial policy or fiscal policy, we are very clear about that. And we try to make use of limited public resources so that they can be used in the most needy elders. So does that mean that for those needy elders, they would be given more resources, and then for those who are not in need, they would not be given that much, so that everybody will be happy? Should that be the policy? That's the first point. Secondly, in terms of our fiscal management policy, the administration will have to be very prudent in its financing, because we are faced with an aging population. And according to our projection, as you can see, the administration has also got this structural deficit problem, and we cannot just ignore these problems. That's why, in the paper, we have no intention of taking the opportunity to criticize the professor's report. In fact, we respect him very much, and that's why we'd like to have a full chance to discuss his report very comprehensively. I think you're actually attaching more importance to your so-called financial sustainability than how you can take care of the elderly. So you said that you were not criticizing Professor Chow, but then from what you said, you were actually criticizing him. All right, you will have to wait for another round. Poon Siu Ping. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yesterday, we said that we were very concerned about this, and if you look at Professor Chow's study, well, the team recommended that if the administration did not introduce a universal retirement package, then the controversy will just continue. And of course, yesterday, the Bureau Director said that the administration attached a lot of importance to the issue, and hopefully in the second half of the year there would be a framework that would be put out for consultation. So what I'd like to ask is, will that be an ultimate consultation exercise, and what is your final decision? And of course, in the end, you hope that you can put out a package that would foster a consensus in the community. But what if it fails? Then what are you going to do? And of course, Professor Chow's team said that on the first occasion, you're going to inject $50 billion into the fund. So are you considering in that direction? So how did you come up with the $50 billion figure? Because in the upcoming consultation, you're going to come up with different packages. And of course, what we'd like to get is a universal scheme. But then, to what extent will you be able to do it so that everybody will be able to have full protection? So, Bureau Director, can you be more categorical? Because yesterday you did not tell us exactly how you're going to conduct the consultation and what are the considerations in your mind. Thank you. Next week, actually the COP is going to have its meeting and we will be starting to look at the issue in depth. That's why the meeting to be held early next month would be a very important starting point. And we will have to discuss this with the members as to what the framework should be and what is the substance. Well, for example, the specific package that I referred to just now, and of course we do not rule out including Professor Chow's suggestions. In other words, the packages proposed by Professor Chow will be included. Well, we never ruled that as a possibility. We never rule that out because we will have to make a choice. And then we will have to look at the data, the justification, and all the arguments. We have to make sure that it's accepted by the community. And if the community agrees that this is the way forward, this is the best way forward, and this is affordable, and it is acceptable to the community, and nobody would complain if we have to increase salaries, tax, and so on, then why do we not respect the community's wish? But then will we be able to foster that consensus? We cannot be very optimistic. We have to be honest with you. So you can only get the mainstream opinion. Of course, you cannot get 100% acceptance. We don't know. That's why we have to go back to discuss it with the COP members. And secondly, we would also like to come up with more specific proposals because we don't just have universal retirement protection packages. So we don't want to see a situation whereby there would be a dichotomy between a universal and a non-universal package. So we don't want to have that kind of situation. We just want to come up with a situation which is best for the elders. So we have to think more broadly. And just now you also mentioned a point about the $50 billion. How did we come up with the figure?
Frankly speaking, it's not the result of a scientific calculation. This is just to demonstrate that we are politically determined and committed. The $50 billion is there to prepare, to get the preparation done. It shows our sincerity and our determination and commitment. So you're not following the suggestions of Professor Chow in setting aside $50 billion. Well, in terms of the amount, it's the same. It's $50 billion, but we set aside the $50 billion in order to show that we are sincere and determined and committed. Dr. Fernando Zhang, it's really difficult to discuss things with the Secretary. It's a community consensus that we need to provide retirement protection, but the government has been dragging its feet. Before the reunification, Mr. Lam Wun Kwong, and he was working for Mr. Chris Patton. He was trying to sell the idea of an OH pension scheme, and then Mr. Chen Zhuo criticized this as something that would lead to disaster. So it was shelved. But afterwards, there have been calls in the community asking for this to be done, and they have come up with different proposals, and the CPU has invited different academic to carry out studies. At least there are 4 such reports. None of those reports have been published. And now we have this report from Professor Chow. He has looked at 6 proposals from the community and looked at the details, and they have given answer to all the questions. Who will pay for this? Is it sustainable? And how can it be sustainable? And he also states that if we do not do this, the controversy will continue, and we'll be talk about it forever and ever. And at the same time, the elderly will not get any basic retirement protection. You are the policy maker. You are here to lead this community. You know that elderly people are in difficulty. They need retirement protection. But you just want to seek consensus. What about your stance? Do you think that it should be done? And now you show your sincerity by putting up $50 billion. How should it be done? You have dragged your feet for 17, 18 years. If you think this should be done, you should say how we should go about it. Or if you say that we're not going to do it, say so. Or if you say there should be a means test, then you tell us how it can be done. You know, the New People's Party and the DAB all want the scheme to be means tested. And they have now even done all the actuarial projection. But in 2014, as assessed by Professor Chow, the total expenditure is $68.9 billion under the DAB's proposal. And under the New People's Party's proposal, additionally $60.4 billion. Overall speaking, the two schemes proposed by the DAB and the New People's Party would bring more pressure, more financial pressure to the government. So they have done all the calculations and work out all the figures and sums, and now you want to do the consultation again. What's there to consult for about? You have all the objective assessment and calculation done by an academic. Please be a leader. When are you going to come back to tell us whether you are going to do it and how to do it? Well, actually, the thinking behind Dr. Jiang's remarks is very similar to ours. First of all, we want to help the elderly, especially those in need. We hope that we can make the best use of the coming few months, because the government has not proposed any concrete option. Professor Chow has looked at proposals from the community. We would like to present options for consultation, and maybe ultimately the answer is that we should go for what you have suggested. We would lead the process. We would seize the opportunity and make the best use of the time available. We want to chart the way forward, find the right direction, and that the direction to be taken will be regarded as the right one by the community. We are sincere about this, and you can see in the policy address that the words, each one of them, each and every word carries significance. We are not avoiding the issues. We're not trying to whitewash anything. We didn't say that there are no such problems. We acknowledge that the problems are there. We need to make improvements. But the question is how. Maybe we would we'll come down to the same root. We need to leverage on collective wisdom. We may see things differently, but at the end of the day, we may come to the same conclusion. In the coming months, the government will have to present its options, and the community will be consulted. Are you saying that you are going to present options for the government in the coming 6 months? Well, I cannot speak for the Commission on Poverty. And the other member asked whether this is the ultimate consultation. I very much hope so. And we need to get prepared. We would have to analyze the case, and we'll have to come up with the stance of the administration. We'll have to tell people the direction to go and how to do it. Can we be given a timetable? Well, in the coming 6 months, we are going to do a consultation exercise. We're not going to talk about principles. There will be different packages, A, B, C, D, E, and we have to present the government's position as well. or they're drafting something, or they have a timetable. You should give us a timetable, a concrete timetable. And we would have to make sure that this is the ultimate consultation exercise, because talking on and on is not going to be meaningful. Mr. Leung Yiu-chung, in his opening remarks, the Secretary reiterated the point that the government is highly committed to this issue, and that it attaches importance to this, but there's a need to look at this comprehensively. There are a few important issues, whether it should be a universal scheme, and the controversial points about this, and also the financial aspect. As Dr. Fernando Zhang has said, there's a history to this discussion. From the very beginning, we have been talking about something universal. I think the Secretary would acknowledge this, but why don't you tell Professor Chow? Why didn't you tell Professor Chow to look into whether retirement protection should be universal or not universal? And now he has submitted his report, and you are saying that you need to do the consultation again because the universality will be controversial. That's why we have to criticize you for backpedaling. This is most disappointing. In your words, you are serious that this is going to be the final consultation. Then a decision will be taken. Please tell us specifically. Are you going to ask the respondents to indicate whether we are going to introduce universal retirement protection or not? Or are we going to have something not universal? You have to clarify this, because I'm worried by the last remarks in your opening speech. You are saying that we are making improvements on all fronts. For example, there's some related to MPF. Some improvements will be made to the MPF system. So it could well be that we don't need to introduce universal retirement protection as long as we can improve some existing schemes or policies. Because all those other policies are not for universal protection, but they are not adequate or not good enough. Please clarify this point. Is this going to be about whether we are going to have retirement protection or not, or you are going to ask people whether we should have universal retirement protection or not? We expect this to be universal. We are talking about universal retirement protection. Will the government spend the $50 billion on improvements to other policies? So is this commitment real? Please elaborate. What is the $50 billion for? Or if you cannot tell us what it's for, I would say that you are there just to hook us. So please be specific that the $50 billion is going to be spent on retirement protection in the future. Please be specific. Well, some questions are more complicated than others. Maybe I should offer my response in the next round. Please define the direction to take. Are you going to consult people on whether we are going to introduce retirement protection or not, and whether it's universal or not? Please be brief, Secretary. We'll consult the public over the best course of action for the future retirement protection. And by doing this, we are going to present options, and we do not rule out putting up some government options as well as options in Professor Charles' report. So we are definitely going to introduce retirement protection. The purpose is to improve the existing system of retirement protection. This is tricky. If you ask whether I'm going to consult people over one option for a universal retirement protection scheme, then I cannot answer this question. We all want to see how we can afford our court universal retirement protection. Mr. Tammy Chung, we talk about this. We've been talking about this for days and for months. The Secretary is a sincere person, so we don't have to be worried about this. Retirement protection is controversial. It's a matter of concern to us. Some people ask, what more investigations is needed by the administration? So I would like to remind the Secretary, if you want to take follow-up action or to do consultation, you must remember to cover the question of contribution. Are you going to introduce some changes to contribution requirements? There was a survey conducted by DAB in April last year, and that is we asked people whether they would be willing to contribute to a retirement protection scheme all over and on top of MPF. Only less than 30% said they would be willing to do so. 60% said they wouldn't be willing to do so. So if you say this is the step, the government is going to go down, you should check again people's views on contributions. You may say that even with means test, the DAB's proposal would bring a lot of financial pressure, and the commitment will be very big because of the aging population. Of course, we can make it more acceptable by reducing contributions. But will people be willing to make additional contributions?
Well, people would say that, all right, I'll be taking out part of the MPF contribution to do that. But then they have their own account under MPF, and it's their own accrued benefit. But then, so why would they be willing to take out part of the MPF contribution to that pool? And you can say that you can immediately get $3,000, but then not everyone would be willing to do it. So if you were to conduct another round of consultation and study, I think you will have to be very clear about the majority wish. And if you are determined to do it, then you will have to convince people that this is good. Or else, even with a lot of hard work, if it's not favored by many people, then it would be futile. Yes, as the policy address has also set out, there is a lot of controversy about a contributory system. And in the past, we also talk about a contributory OAA. Well, after all, we have to be very careful about this. And therefore, in a consultation, we will definitely be setting up all these questions for the community to respond to. But then we have to find a way out. It's not just a consultation exercise without anything coming about after that. What we are trying to do is to improve the existing system, or else why would we bother to discuss it? Obviously, the existing system is not without problems, because despite what we have done, there are still elders who are in need and who are not able to support themselves. That's why we are trying to collect the wisdom from the community in order to do a better job. Next, Raymond Chen. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just now, Peter Jiang asked if the Bureau Director would be introducing universal retirement package, and the Bureau Director said that he would be introducing retirement package. I think the OALA is a de facto universal retirement protection. So long as you are willing to give them a bit more, then you would be able to protect them after retirement. So what you need to do, if you are insistent on doing that, then they would be prepared to go all the way out by reshuffling the items, and then they'll be able to do it if that's what they want. In the end, I'm not sure if they are going to do it. But then when there is overwhelming sentiment from the community, then what they try to do would be they would conduct rounds and rounds of consultation. So is that the real intention? Is that a delaying tactic? In fact, we have already got something here. And now you're doing the consultation again. So should it be treated as a form of welfare or a form of right, or only those needy people will get it? So we are going back to square one. So for people who have been waiting for more than 10 years, they'll find it most disappointing. So I'd like to give the administration the following views. All right, I hope that on this occasion, you're not just going to do the study and then the consultation and then study after study again. And then if you ask the business sector if they would be prepared to support a universal retirement package by making contribution, then of course they would say no. So in the end, of course, there are issues about who is going to foot the bill. But then you should not be scaring people in the first place. Next, what I'd like to say is that for the $50 billion set aside, I think if you just say that you'll be reserving some $50 billion for that purpose is a very low level of saying it. Well, at least you could have set up a fund. And then if you have miscalculated or misforecast the surplus or deficit and so on, all right, at least you will have to make a commitment that this amount will only grow without shrinking. But then you're giving people the impression that this is just an accounting technique. So you've been shown a rain check that this will be used, but then you will have to sort out the details later, and then the money will remain in my coffers. So let me ask a very practical issue. All right, at the Welfare Services Panel meeting, with regard to policy agenda, para 8, you said that the COP in the next few months will be looking at the public consultation exercise, which will be launched in the second half of this year. So it will be setting out the framework for the consultation. I don't quite understand it. So does that mean that for the community-wide consultation, all right, that will be done in the second half of this year? And then did you say that it will last for 6 months or what? So when compared to the last round of consultation, what's the difference? And at this stage, we will have to wait for the COP to come up with a framework for consultation. So by that, are you going to set out the direction, whether or not it's going to be a form of welfare or a right or a universal package or whatever? All right, let me first explain the time frame. The consultation, the community-wide consultation, will start in the second half of this year. So we'll be doing that shortly. But then before that, we will have to do a lot of preparation. For example, what's the content of the paper, and what's the framework, what's the roadmap, and what's the timetable. So we will have to consider it. That's why starting from next week, we'll be sorting out all the details, and we will have to have collective wisdom. So it's not just to be determined by the officials. We hope that members will be involved, because we do have 4 lawmakers sitting in the commission, including KK Fong, Peter Jiang, and so on, and Leung Chi-Chang and Michael Tian. They are all members of the COP, and therefore we do maintain this very close link with this council, and there are community leaders and grassroots representatives, academics, and so on. So it's broadly representative. That's why we're going to collect the wisdom from the community, and then we will prepare the consultation paper. We will set out the direction, and of course there will be different choices and options as to, and also we will also decide on how long it will take. and then we will launch that consultation in the second half of this year. So you'll be setting out the broad direction, or are you going to consult the public on the overall direction? Will it be a welfare, or will it be an entitlement? Well, as the CS is the chairman, and I'm just a deputy chairman of the COP, and also a working group, but of course I would respect the views of the majority. So please rest assured, we would like to come up with specific formulas and packages. We would not be talking about the principles, so we would not be wasting time on that. We will have to come up with specific formulas and packages for people to choose from, so that people will be able to make a choice. And are you going to do it or not? And if we recommend a particular package, why? So we'd like to do that in a consultation. So we'd like to come up with something concrete. And in the government's paper, you always say that you'll be helping the most needy ones. So you're inclined to introducing a means-tested scheme. I'm afraid that it will be even more stringent than the OALA, because you are going to help the most needy ones. So in the end, it's not going to be a retirement protection package that we are asking for. All right, Bureau Director, can you answer that later? Next, Sid Ho. Thank you, Madam Chair. In fact, 2 months ago, someone already approached us asking us to withdraw from the umbrella movement, and then they promised that in a policy address they would be coming up with some major concessions on livelihood issues, including retirement protection. I thought he was joking. But then in the end, for universal retirement protection package is mentioned, and $50 billion has been set aside for that purpose. But then it's not meaningful at all, because even if you put out $50 billion, in the future, the officials' line to take would be that overwhelming majority of them would be against a universal retirement protection package. Everyone would say that it's not workable, it's very difficult, and therefore the $50 billion is not going to reassure the public, because we have a precedent. It's like the $50 billion for the hospital authority, and now they only managed to get $4.5 billion. So you're not going to justify it to the trade or the profession. All right, the $50 billion will be there, and you don't even bother to set up a fund for that purpose. So how can you expect people to trust you, to have faith in you that you're going to do it? All right, you said that you're going to have a consultation on that, but then it's set for the purpose of implementing a universal retirement protection package. That's why you're trying to consult the public on the details, or are you trying to find an excuse to get yourself out of the hook? So you will have to show us the sincerity in answering the question. In fact, your colleagues, including the Chief Secretary for Administration, she will also have to answer that question. Or else we only have one Bureau Director trying to put up a brave fight, saying that is a harder result and you've worked very hard for that. But then all the others behind you do not show any sincerity at all. So you will have to show us the sincerity. You said that you will have to consult the public. I agree. There are some details that have to be sorted out. For example, the amount and also the formula, even if it's universal. But then for civil servants who are already protected in terms of their retirement, should it be a voluntary contribution, or do we have to have extra contribution or whatever? So the most important thing is, Madam Chair, for full-time homemakers and housewives, who would be contributing on their behalf? And of course, we think that the administration should be contributing on their behalf. It should be a tripartite contributory scheme. You cannot just expect their spouses to do it for them. What about those who are not married? So they are actually taking care of other people's children. They might be taking care of the parents for their siblings and so on. All right, they have been unfortunate because their parents are having chronic illness, and then they are not married. And if you have universal retirement protection package, well, they are not salaried, and therefore they will be excluded. So this will not work. So on the one hand, Chairman, we agree that the details will have to be put out for consultation before we can implement or introduce a universal retirement protection package. But then we will not accept the proposal if you're just trying to make use of the 6 months consultation to get away from it. So what are you going to put out in the consultation exercise? Is that going to be the package proposed by Professor Chow, or would it include all the proposals in a community. And of course, if you ask the workers to contribute more, then of course they would not agree. But then if it's just the 5% under the MPF scheme, then they might find it more agreeable. But then, as we said, it's not enough, and you will also have to scrap the MPF scheme in order to offset it. So that would also involve some major changes. So what is the basis for your consultation, and what's the scope of your consultation? I believe that in the policy address, the fact that you've included that here, I'm sure you must have something in mind instead of just putting up $50 billion and then you're going to conduct the consultation. So what is in your mind? You will have to let us know so that we can be convinced that you do have the sincerity in conducting the consultation. Bureau Director, probably you did not come in when I made the introductory remark. But we have set aside $50 billion. We definitely will be working on the basis of the package that the community prefers in the end, so that there would be a public mandate for that. There will be community-wide support for that, and we also have to make sure that it's financially sustainable. And if we all agree that it's reasonable, then there is no way that the administration will veto it. All right, we have set aside the money. The most important thing is the sincerity. You can call it a pledge or a deposit or a bond payment. So that's a very good commitment. That is, the administration does have the sincerity or commitment to do it. But then what kind of package would it be like? That's why we're going to do this consultation. We'd like to listen to the community's views, and then we will conduct an analysis. The whole purpose is to find a way out instead of just getting back and forth, because we've been talking about this for years. That's why we've engaged Professor Chow. That's why we'd like to comprehensively look at the whole situation so that we can have a comprehensive assessment from the academics' perspective. We have an open mind from the very beginning. That's why you asked about the basis for this consultation, and of course Professor Chow has also provided us with a very good database. So a lot of work has been done. So we'll be setting up everything to the community. We'll come clean on that. We'll set out everything, and then we'll consult the public and decide on the way forward.
Madam Chair, they must sell out the proposals. For example, whether it's something on top of the 5% plus 5% under MPF, and how can we provide for women and homemakers. We need to get the framework. Secretary, I've heard fellow members speaking on this. They are all experts. Well, if the OLA is not means test, then it's already the proposed demo grant. If we do nothing about this, you have to deal with elderly poverty as well, because people would keep on asking for the improvements. And if you do not introduce retirement protection, you need to provide more under other allowances, under other schemes. I don't think there's no need to go round and round. The Secretary hasn't really answered this question. Mr. Leung Yu Chung has asked this question. Are you talking about retirement protection according to you or according to us? We want to have universal retirement protection, or you may have certain package. As you've said, it's not the time to talk about the framework. We want to have a you may propose someone which is means test and something which is not means test, and you should come up with proposals on how to deal with the case of Mr. Lee Ka-sing. And also we can also cover details referred to by Mr. Ho. We have been talking about how we are going to take care of women. The Secretary is an expert. So let's be pragmatic. Let's set out all the proposals, all those proposals from the community and from Professor Chow. Please inform us in July what you want to propose. And then during the summer period, we can do the consultation. And then you will be able to come back in October. And then, of course, we can have some confidence in you. Because you have been going round and round. Are you really not going to do it? Please come clean. As Mr. Leung Yu Chung has asked you. Madam Chair, thank you for your suggestions. Let me stress again. After the policy address was delivered, the Commission on Poverty hasn't got a chance to convene a meeting. So the meeting convened next week will be important. And they will come up with the consultation framework, the roadmap, the timetable, and also the contents to be offered for consultation. And also we'll look at the Professor Chow's report. The figures in that report will only take us to 2041, and we need to sort of fill the gaps. So the say CNS department will have to provide further information, and also we need something from the government economists so that the figures would stretch beyond 2041. We believe in the middle of this year we will be more or less covered all these. And then we'll, of course, reflect members' views to the Commission on Poverty. That consultation should start quickly. But we need time for preparation. The timer was not activated when I spoke. I have a follow-up question. Secretary, do you agree that before June, I don't mind what you do before that, whether it's a discussion with the Commission on Poverty, you should get something done. You should make some decisions on in June and go out to consult people. We cannot give you a concrete timetable. We only set out the concepts as announced in the policy address. I'm giving you 4 months. You should be able to do something. We need to talk to the government economists and colleagues in the Census and Statistics Department. More importantly, we need to have a discussion in the Commission. We'd like to start a consultation exercise in the second half of the year. That is to say, from July onwards. Mr. Tan Ka Pil, well, today we have heard something more from the Secretary. And that is that the Secretary has told us the consultation will not be about principles or big issues. Instead, the consultation will be on concrete packages or proposals or options. Some colleagues here are also members of the Commission on Poverty. I hope that they will ask the Commission on Poverty to list out our proposals in the consultation document. Last year, you used Professor Chow as a shoe for you. And sometimes Professor Chow thought that you would just shelve his ideas, his report. And now we are concerned that the same will happen to the Commission on Poverty, because the consultation is going to be done in the name of the Commission, although we have senior government officials that you are going to make a decision after the consultation. But the decision may or may not be based on the consultation. You are saying that a decision will be made after the consultation. Are you going to set out clear procedures for the adoption of public opinion in the consultation exercise? Are you going to set out in the consultation document that this will be the way to consult people? And the Commission would endeavor to adopt, say, a mainstream view. Of course, there are always pros and cons. Some are good in terms of financial viability. Some are better in terms of people's rights. If you don't have any definition of a mainstream proposal, I'm worried that you make a decision which is not really related to what you gathered through the consultation exercise. So can you tell us what would be regarded as a mainstream opinion? Well, actually, the Commission on Poverty will have to do all the members has suggested in the coming months. For example, the framework of consultation, how do we quantify views? Well, it's not up to the Secretary for Labour and Welfare to say that certain matters should be covered or not. All you have suggested, Mr. Tang, is a proper. We have to comprehensively cover everything. So are you going to adopt a procedure, and then the government will take on board the results arising from the process? Well, the government wants to get a consensus. We want to seek a consensus so that we know the direction to take for Hong Kong. We invited Professor Chow to look into the future development of retirement protection. That's a macro issue. It's not just looking at one proposal, one option for universal retirement protection. Do you have any definition on a consensus? Are you going to conduct opinion surveys, and then a certain percentage would be regarded as consensus? We haven't got any proposal. How are we going to quantify public opinion? What percentage will count and what not? This is exactly what the Commission on Poverty will be tasked to consider in the coming months. I remember in the last discussion, members generally said they wanted universal retirement protection, and the contentious point was that whether we should regard this as a right or a welfare item. And if it's a welfare scheme and means test is required, then it would have a labeling effect. The Liberal Party has conducted a survey among 2,349 respondents. More people thought that this will not have a labeling effect. 49.8% thought this would not have a labeling effect on recipients or retirees. And we also look at their income levels. Those over 20,000, earning 20,000 or more, those who do not agree that this will have labeling effect is the majority, more than 50%. On behalf of my constituents, I have also conducted a survey, and they generally do not subscribe to the idea that this will be there would be a labeling effect, and they do not think that we should give everyone the same benefit, i.e. it should be universal. Hong Kong is an affluent society. We should help the needy, and they are saying that there's no need to give everyone the same benefit. And I think the $3,000 proposed by Professor Chow is, in my view, on the low side, because some other benefits are even better. And there are people suggesting that we should improve the schemes to offer better protection. Well, I agree with this suggestion. And now you have set aside $50 billion, and it's for the period up to 2041. As far as I understand, all the proposed schemes are not going to be viable in the long term, so that begs the question, who's going to pay for it, for the scheme? So you should fill the gaps first, answer those unanswered questions. Otherwise, I don't think the community would agree that we should have a universal scheme. The Liberal Party would like to stress once again that we should help the needy. Thank you. I think we should be rational and pragmatic. We should look at where the gaps are, whether we should update some of the statistics. We should strive to do a proper and comprehensive consultation exercise. The objective is to help the elderly in a meaningful way. That's why we have set aside $50 billion. That shows our sincerity. We want to take things forward. This term of government has achieved some breakthrough. We are not trying to avoid the issue. Actually, we are tackling the problem head-on. I think all people who want to promote this should take things forward. We should move forward. We should try to find something for Hong Kong that is good and sustainable. I've just received a motion. It said that there should be a comprehensive consultation in the community. Of course, this is good. But I don't think that we should make it a requirement that legislation should be introduced within this term of LegCo. Mr. Peter Chang, let's not discuss whether this is going to have a labeling effect. It's not good for the community, even if just one person thinks that it has a labeling effect.
What we'd like to discuss with the Bureau Director is how we can get the money. If we do nothing at all, then even if there is this CSSA, OALA, OAA, and also Guangdong and Fujian portable scheme, even if everything adds together, then this year you're spending some $26 billion on that. And then in 2030, the population will double. In other words, the elderly population will double in 2030, and we're going to spend some $53 billion. And then by 2040, so we will have to spend some 2.8 times than what we spent today. That would amount to $74.2 billion. So where would the money come from? So Bureau Director, can you tell us what you have in mind in getting the tens of billions of dollars to pay for that? Bureau Director, yes, Mr. Cheung is right. And according to the long-term financing financial planning working group, that's the projection. And given the economic growth would also slow down, that's going to be a major challenge. So it's very likely that we're going to have a structural deficit. Precisely because of that, public resources will have to be used in a targeted manner. That's why the principle on public financing is that limited resources should only be used on the most needy ones. So it's not just confined to welfare. It also applies to public financing. It's not that we don't want to do anything. In fact, we would have loved to do more. But then we have to do what we are able to afford. So the data that you refer to, that's what we will have to work on in the next few months. Well, Chairman, it's just a very simple projection and calculation. And of course, the administration has actuaries who will tell them that, well, actually, it's not $70 billion. Actually, it's just $40 or $50 billion. Still, it's a major sum. That's why what we are suggesting is, well, if employers, employees, and the government are going to make contributions together, then today we're going to make huge savings, and if it rolls over, then by 2040, 2050, we'll be able to cope with it. And of course, after 2040, what is going to happen is something that we can work out together. That's why Professor Chow's package can be referred to. Or else you will have to impose heavy tax, and you will have to start that now. So apparently, that would again bring us back to a situation whereby only the employers and employees will be made to pay. And it's also not fair because you're actually charging them tax, and yet the taxpayers will not be benefiting. So the idea of pay-as-you-go as proposed by Professor Chow, and also the $50 billion might be working in different directions. In the end, it's not going to be turned into a fair system. That's why I'm mooting this idea for discussion. And then the administration can tell us that we are going to scrap the OALA and also the OAA, and then what's left is the CSSA. And then, of course, we will not be able to comment on this. This is a hypothetical issue. And I'm sure as a member of the COP, we'll be discussing that in the next few months. I don't have a ready answer because you refer to some figures. That's why when we conduct the consultation, we will have to set out those figures very clearly and how we came up with those figures, and also to what extent would the administration have to pay for it. So we will be setting out those details in a consultation document. So let me spend another few seconds. So I can also explain my motion. That is that this subcommittee urges the administration to conduct a comprehensive consultation on universal retirement protection package before June this year, and should also legislate within this term of office in order to implement retirement protection for the community. All right. I'd like to ask for members' comments on this motion. If there is no objection, yes, Mr. Frankie Yik, would you like to discuss this? No, there is no need to discuss it. I don't support it. So, will those in favor please raise their hands? Ms. Ho, I'm not a member of the subcommittee, and Lee Cheuk-yan is also not a member. But then I'll be prepared to support it. All right, thank you for reminding us. So, will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. Thank you. Okay. So basically, all those who are here support this other than Frankie Yik. Thank you. All right, second round. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan, please. Madam Chair, I think this government, under the leadership of Matthew Cheung, has been highly sophisticated in employing the delaying tactic. So even a Tai Chi master would plead inferior to you. So we don't know how much longer it will take for the healthcare financing issue, and now we don't know how long it's going to take for this consultation exercise. We had expected that legislation would be introduced during this term, but then apparently your strategy is that you'll be delaying until the very last minute, and then whatever the result might be, you will not have enough time for legislation. So my question for you is, all right, next year we'll be reminding you the schedule of this council, and our term is going to expire in 2016. In other words, by July next year, we will have to complete the legislation. So according to your time schedule, will we be able to make it? you might say that, well, we may not be able to make it, but then so long as we have the way out or the way out, then are you sure that you will continue in your office in the next term? Will CY Leung continue in his office next time? And if we're going to have new faces, then are you going to start it all over again? So there will be no end in sight with regard to consultation. So you're not going to resolve the problem at all. So there will be endless delays. So my question to the Bureau Director is, according to your timetable, you said that you will have to complete the comprehensive consultation, and then I don't know when you can have the result, because you may again say that you will have to set up another working group, and then after the working group has completed the study, you will have to consult on the result or the finding again. Well, there will be no end in sight. So what is your timetable? Can you tell us? Bureau Director? Well, during the term of this government, all right, that will expire on the 30th of June 2017. So we have 2 years, 5 months, and 3 days to go. And then for this term of the council is a bit shorter, because that will end in September 2016, and then you will have to wrap up your work by July or August. So you will have to make a decision on everything before your term expires. But then we have a longer term than you do. So we have a longer term than you do by about 6 months. And then the new council will be returned. But then if the finding of the consultation is out, if there is public support for that, if there is clear public support for this, that this is the way forward for Hong Kong, that we can afford it, is fair and reasonable, and is also appropriate, is practicable, and so on. If that's the case, then whichever term of government comes into being, if that's a reasonable and acceptable package, then I'm sure whoever becomes the chief executive, whoever becomes the chief secretary, whoever becomes the bureau director, will not dare to overturn this result, which is supported by the community. If it's rational, if it's reasonable, then the administration will try to implement it as soon as possible. And we will also complete all the infrastructure before we leave. All right, you can say you can do that by installments, because I had thought that Professor Nelson Chow's package would already resolve the problems. And now you said that there is division, or there is controversy in the community, because you can never achieve 100% consensus, because there is always opposition. It's about the government's determination, and if you are not determined, and if you're just doing a sloppy job, if you're just employing delaying tactic, then there is no end to it. I think 119 is very clear in showing our commitment, because we have already stated that very clearly in the document. I think the 30+ words in that paragraph are very important. You just say that you attach a lot of importance to that. It shows our determination, and you just set aside $50 billion, and then you said that is commitment. But then you're not going to spend it at all. You're just putting it in the drawer, and then the next term of government can lock it up again, and then can take it away. So what kind of sincerity is that? So my additional question is, so what kind of a pledge is that $50 billion? Because you don't really need to spend it. The next term of government can take it away. So the clearest commitment is to come up with a package, instead of just showing us the rain check. I think you are definitely not happy with that. Yes, we will continue to criticize them. We will continue to grow them. Leung Yu-chung, Madam Chair. In fact, I'm very concerned because the Bureau Director also said something which worries us. Because you said that you'd like to perfect the existing MPF system, and then after the improvement, that would become your biggest excuse, saying that all these problems have been resolved by the MPF scheme, because the MPF scheme is in itself a retirement protection scheme, and after improving it, it's already done. You have already resolved the problem, and there is no need for you to introduce a universal retirement protection package. That's why I like to put it to you very categorically. All right. So is that retirement protection mechanism that you're going to consult would be over and above the existing mechanisms and packages. So it's just a question of universal or not universal. It's not about implementing or not implementing it at all. So can you give us a very clear and definitive answer? And also, what I'm concerned about is, as other members said, would the $50 billion be just a tactic to shy away from the core of the problem. It's just a gesture. So, can you tell us, for the $50 billion, what is it going to be used for? Will it form a fund for the future retirement protection scheme so that it will help kickstart the operation of the fund? Well, it's very simple. The $50 billion is to prepare for the future implementation of the scheme. We don't know what it's going to look like in the future. We don't know what kind of package will it be like. And we haven't really had any idea as to what it's going to look like. That's why we'd like to foster a consensus. So we have the money there. And with the money there, I think it's easier for us to get the whole thing up and running. And of course, we will have to apply for funding, and we will have to come to the FC, and then the FC would not be standing in the way because the administration doesn't have the money or the economy is not doing well and so on. So it's just to facilitate the starting or the implementation of this. This is a huge commitment. So $50 billion is not something that has come about easily. We have not written that in very casually. But then the most important thing is to foster a consensus so that we can find a path which is suitable for Hong Kong, which is financially sustainable. It's not just going to last for just 10 years. If that is the case, then we should not have done it. So we are not just doing it casually. We have to be accountable to the people of Hong Kong. But what about the first question? You have not answered that. So in conducting the consultation, what are you going to consult people on? Well, it's very simple. You ask if it's universal or non-universal. No. So is it about whether you're going to do it or not? Because I am worried that you might be backpedaling and you're not going to do it in the end. As we are all concerned about retirement protection, and Professor Nelson Chow has also come up with different suggestions, and some are universal, some are more targeted, and so on. So we have a basket of options available, and the administration should make the preparation so that we can do all the projections, and we will have to analyze the situation, and if the administration has its own proposal, we should also include that so that we can set out everything, so that we can come clean on that, and we can all work together to go for it. So with $50 billion there, how are we going to kickstart the whole thing? Can you be more categoric about this? You would not just, in the end say that with the improvements in the MPF scheme, you need not to do anything else. I think this is very tricky. So if you just ask me in simple terms, so MPF is also one of the pillars. Because you've been saying that you have the pillars, but then they are rottening. So you should not just repair the pillar and then say it's okay. We should not jump to the conclusion it's very dangerous. We have to listen to the views of the people. If that is the case, then it's even more dangerous.
Well, as I've said, we're going to put forward concrete proposals, concrete options. Please let me finish. There will be concrete, specific options, the result of collective wisdom of the Commission on Poverty. And there's a filtering process. We don't just make any proposal we like. Well, you have finally exposed yourself. If the pillars can be repaired, improved, then it would be good enough. Well, we haven't got any conclusion like that. The meeting is going to take place next week. I'm not a spokesman of the Commission, and I have to respect the views of Commission members, and the CS is the chairman. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Actually, we haven't been able to get concrete replies. If I were the leader in the government, we know that CSSA is not good, and elderly people cannot rely on the $2,000 of OALA. And even with policy intervention, some 30% of the elderly population are still poor. So should something be done? And the community has made 6 proposals, and that's another one from Professor Chow, all of which have been assessed through an actuarial study. And if you still ask where the money will come from, well, please don't ask this question. It's all in Professor Chow's report. This report has already got something very specific, and still you want to consult people again on basic concepts. Should it be universal? Should it be contributory in nature? And how much contribution will be required? Well, all these have been done. The information is there for you to take a good look at. And then it's said that in the second half of this year, there will be the consultation. And then there might be a final proposal. Or maybe in the process of consultation, there may be other proposals from the community. And then perhaps the Commission will have to reconsider those proposals. And there may be a chance that the government will also present its proposal. So are you just trying to avoid the issue? How come a government or a government leader, in the face of such a serious social problem, a serious social issue, still try to avoid the issue by sidetracking? Or maybe it would take the elderly people to take part in another umbrella movement, but maybe not. That's still not good enough. And some leaders have talked about all sorts of reservation. Well, actually, this subject has been in discussion in the community for more than 10 years. So please give us a proposal, a proposed package. Of course, I'm in support of the universal scheme, and also I think Professor Chow is in favor of a universal scheme. But if you say that I don't want to have a universal system, I want to have a means test, I want to present you with the financial data on sustainability. So why do you want to postpone everything until the end of your term? Actually, there was a PolyU survey in 2012. Over 90% of people were in favor of a universal retirement protection scheme. So the consensus is already there. What are you waiting for, Secretary? It's necessary to do the things we propose as preparation. If we rush in and do a sloppy consultation, it may be counterproductive. In the report of Professor Chow, he states that if the government accepts his proposal, then the administration should consult the people over the introduction of demo grant, and also the need to introduce an additional series tax to support the demo grant. And then there should be a actuarial assessment. And also there would be the need to change laws. Professor Chow is very serious about this because he is of the view that because of manpower limitation, the actuarial study has not been done to the level of sophistication that he would like to see. So we need to involve the Census and Statistics Department to do some projection so that we can cover the period beyond 2041. That's why I'm saying that we are serious. You must give us some space. If we just rush in for a consultation exercise, that may be very very counterproductive. So why don't you wait for a little bit longer? So that's why I'm saying that your proposed time frame is going to present problems. So we are not trying to drag our feet. We need to pick all the data from the report of Professor Chow. Yes, Professor Chow says that if the government is to implement the idea of introducing a demo grants, then you need to do the actuarial projection. The key words being the government is to implement the demo grant, but you have not reached the stage. You are saying that we should start from scratch. We should start from the first step. So Professor Zhao says, if you accept his proposal, then you should do this and that. But you don't even have a proposal to start with now. Let me just say one thing. Well, the professor is saying that if we want to do this, we should make sure that some other things are done. For example, we need to do a better actuarial projection. So since we also have to work out some data and projection for other proposals, it's our duty. So why don't you give us a little bit more time? People would ask, why don't we just do the projection to cover further into the future? Well, you should not regard this report from the professor as a sloppy report. The professor also involved actuarial experts. You cannot say that it was sloppily done. They have already given you all the data. And if you accept the proposal and you want to fine-tune the actuarial projection, that's warranted. But you haven't reached that. But you want to do things all over again. And in this way, you are just ignoring the professor's report. I don't think we can get blood from stone, so to speak. This is just a filibuster which has been going on for 10 to 20 years, and at the same time, elderly people suffer. I don't agree. I beg to differ. We are moving forward. Please look at paragraph 4, the fourth paragraph of Professor Chow's recommendation. This is very meaningful. Mr. Tang Ka-piu, Ms. Sit-ho, I agree that we need to do many actuarial projections. We don't want to see what has happened to Greece, and they are bordering on defaulting debt payment. But before we come up with the details, we can consult people over broad principles. For example, tax increase. What kind of tax? Tax on dividends, on capital gains tax, or should working people contribute additionally a few percentage of their pay to support protection for housewives? Should we have a pay-as-you-go system, and elderly people would start to get the benefit? Or are we saying that everyone should contribute now, and then if you contribute, you can receive the benefit later? Should it be in the form of an annuity scheme or OALA? What's the relationship between the future benefit and the existing OAA, OALA? We know that the CPU has done the actuarial projections. We asked repeatedly the CPU that the CPU gave us its report. It always said no. And now you're saying that Professor Chow was constrained by the lack of resources. But what about those reports supported by sufficient expertise? Can those reports be made public now so that we can all participate in the analysis and offer you proposals? We know that the academic commissions by you in carrying out a report would always be constrained, but the raw data can allow other people, other academics to do their work, and then we'll know, the community will know the true picture. All right, you want to do some preparation, or you may want to consider whether how much should the amount be? Should it be inflation linked? And also, should we consider the loss of the population bonus arising from the baby boom generation? But because of the increased productivity, we are now having a big surplus in our treasury. So maybe we could get something out to provide for the interim period, so that after the population has reached a stable level, we can sustain the system. But we need the community to get a consensus over the principles, provided that the government is committed and the government is willing to do it. You may have set aside $50 billion, but the senior officials are all saying that it can't be done. Then the people doubt whether this is going to happen. And every time you come, Secretary, you come under a lot of criticism because there are doubts. Can we have a two-phase, two-staged in the consultation? First, should we have new taxes, and what taxes should be introduced? And second, you can have another proposal with more accurate content based on actuarial projections. Well, I don't know, because some other members think that we should have concrete proposals. It would be a waste of time to consult people over the major principles. But what you have said, Ms. Ho, is also reasonable. I don't think Ms. Ho's proposal is in conflict with what we have asked. I believe there's a consensus here. Let me clarify. Should we have a consultation over major principles, and then there's another consultation once we are equipped with actuarial projection data?
You will have to first decide on the overriding issues, and then you can do the actuarial study. I'm concerned that the Bureau Director would say that, all right, we will have to wait till after the actuarial calculations are complete. But then during the waiting time, you could have completed the first phase of consultation. If you are willing to listen to us, all right, in January after the meeting, you can then plan on your timetable. And then if you look at part 4 of Nelson Chow's report, in fact, he has also talked about the difficulties that he has encountered for a universal package. All right, if you had adopted the attitude as proposed by Ms. Sito, then we would be able to resolve it. So before June, would you make all the preparation, and then you can roll out the consultation? In fact, we are prepared to give you a lot of room. All right, before June, with regard to the Universal Retirement Protection Scheme, you will have to consult the public. So the wording is very loose. All right, before June, you will have to consult the public on a Universal Retirement Protection Scheme, and then within the term of this council, you will have to legislate in order to implement that retirement protection scheme. Next, tank appeal. We have 15 minutes to go, so 3 minutes each. We are not able to extend it any further. So this is the third round, tank appeal. Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. Well, to set up a fund and to conduct the consultation in the name of the Poverty Commission, I think we have already made some steps forward. But then, should we be doing it with a sense of direction or what? I think that's what we are concerned about. Another thing that I'm worried about is that the administration has not made has not set up any platform for dealing with the offsetting arrangement under the MPF scheme. Well, some said that the offsetting arrangement is part of the scheme, and therefore, will the consultation exercise touch on that? Another voice is that we should not meddle with the consultation, and we should just be focusing on the universal retirement protection package, so that we would not allow the administration to distract the public by asking some digressing issues or questions. So are you going to touch on the MPF scheme at all in the consultation exercise? So can you tell us this? That's the first point. Second, as you're going to do the consultation, and you may even make use of the present data to do the projection. As a result of that, for all other welfare items in the remaining term of the administration, you're not going to change it at all. For example, the OALA's further relaxation of the criteria or the eligibility criteria, and also the portable scheme, the Guangdong portable scheme. Are you going to extend it to further inner cities on the mainland? And also OALA, is it that you're not going to change that at all before the consultation for the offsetting arrangement under the MPF scheme? I'll invite my colleague, Ms. Yun, to give you a brief reply. That is Ms. Lai. And also, before we come to a conclusion on that, as to whether or not there'll be changes to the OALA, OAA, and so on, it's hard to say, because we will have to look at the actual operation of the scheme. For example, the Guangdong scheme on OAA has been up and running for some time, and it's time for us to review it. And for the OALA, it's been in operation for just 1 or 2 years. Is it a bit too early to conduct a review? And whether or not we're going to look at the whole thing comprehensively, we're not sure. But then the most important thing is to be pragmatic and practicable. So wherever resources permit, we'll be more than happy to do it. But then you don't have the time, so you don't have any plans to change them at all. Well, because for the OALA, it's been in place for a very short period of time, so it's a bit too early to review it. So when we review the whole thing, we'll be looking at all these together. Because if we're going to improve the situation, then of course we will have to look at all the schemes together. But then how about the offsetting arrangement? Will that be included in the consultation? Can you be brief? In fact, we've been liaising closely with the MPF scheme authority. As members are aware, we have just completed the amendment to the MPF ordinance, and we're going to work on the core fund issue. So for our work in this regard, with or without the review of the retirement protection scheme, is an ongoing job. Just now, Sid Ho said that whatever the worries are, Nelson Chow is an academic. He's a scholar. That's why in the report, he said that there are 4 points that we have to consult the public. Now, Professor Chow is aware of the fact that many people are worried about a universal retirement protection scheme. That's why he'd like us to make reference to the Australian and the other scheme, so that would help solve the problem. So you can ask the public on this. Second, if employers and employees have to make contributions, then he understands that both would be concerned. But then if you were to cap it at $100 each, then all right, if you're earning more than $10,000, he has also done the calculation, it's just $150 to $300. So that's the basis for our discussion. But then as to whether or not that will work, of course that can also be discussed, and many would be worried that the amount or the contribution will go up. So he said he has made it very clear. That is looking at our concerns. Well, some people say that well, there can be a mechanism whereby both employers and employees can make their contribution and so on. And the fourth part is that there are different directions for consideration. If you were to conduct a consultation, then you can just look at the concluding part of the Nelson Chow's report, so you can then decide on whether or not it should be a universal or non-universal package. So what about the four conclusions of Professor Nelson Chow? Have you considered that? In fact, I've raised that myself, or else you would not have identified those paragraphs. Well, as I've told you, I think you have been making leading statements. All right, the pressure behind him has been so tremendous. That's why he's having a hard time. But then for the four questions asked by Mr. Nelson Chow, I think they have helped you. They have helped the Liberal Party because they have helped to respond to the issues raised by the Liberal Party. You don't really have to worry about this. All you need to do is to consult the public on these 4 points, and you can make use of the summer months to conduct the consultation, and then the public will be able to address these issues. Do you understand? Yes, in the next few months in the COP, we're going to be very objective and rational, and we will be very cool-headed, so that we can have a very pragmatic discussion on the way forward and what's the framework for consultation, what's the substance. A lot of work will be involved. So we're not just going to sit there and then we will just do some editing and then put all the proposals there. We will have to look at the data. We will have to make sure that they are safe, because we are going to publish those figures to the public. All right, we will have to end by 6:30. We also have to allow for 2 minutes to fix the date of the next meeting. Lee Chek-yen, Madam Chair, it's very simple. Well, Bureau Director also talk about the issues that Professor Nelson Chow would like to consult the public on. I think you're starting from scratch again in your consultation. Are you going to ask people what's their view on the old age allowance, the CSSA, the OALA, and also universal retirement protection package? Should it be universal? Should it be contributory, and so on? But then, what you should have asked is that if it's universal, then you will have to make contribution, and what kind of contribution system should it be? Are you in favor of making a contribution yourself? So you should not be starting from scratch. So I'd like to know if that's what you're going to do. If that is the case, then actually you don't have an overriding direction and you're starting from scratch. So if it's not delaying tactic, then what is? And you also said that for actuarial projection, well, in fact, we all know that 2041 is the peak of the aging population. And if you're able to cope with 2041, then you should have no problem after 2041. So is it really necessary to do the projection beyond 2041? And you would only be conducting the consultation 6 months later. Actually, the underlying statement is that you have to wait for the next term of government before anything will be done. So my earlier question was whether or not they would be starting from scratch, or are you just going to consult on the 4 paragraphs as set up by Professor Chow? I think you've been very imaginative. You have gone a bit too far. In fact, on the framework of consultation, the COP will be discussing that in depth next week, and all your views will be conveyed to the COP, and Fernando Zhang and Peter Zhang will be there, so they'll be reflecting your views, and I'll also be reflecting your views honestly to the Commission, including your motion. That will also be relayed to the Commission. You've already read out the 4 paragraphs of Professor Chow, but then you're not going to consult on those 4 points. And then you said that you attach a lot of importance to Professor Chow's report. That's not true, because you're just paying lip service to it, because when you conduct the consultation, you're not going to ask those questions, and then you'll be starting from scratch at the Commission. And I can also make one more projection, That is, after the discussion by the COP, you're going to set up another working group to do the consultation, because the smartest thing that you can do is to set up a working group, and then you don't know how long it will take for it to complete this work, because you will have to identify the members, and then after a while you will have to have meetings and so on. So you have many ways to delay it. So you are really a master in delaying the whole thing. Bureau Director, I've made it very clear that is, the administration has the political commitment and the sincerity to follow up on this issue. We would like to identify the best way forward for Hong Kong in terms of retirement protection. That's indeed what we think. All right, members. Let's wait till after the Bureau Director has had his meeting, because he'll have to address the issues that we have raised here. Because with the $50 billion, if that's the amount that the administration is prepared to pledge, then in the end, we will have to see how you address the 4 points raised by Professor Chow. If that's the basis for your consultation, then we will be convinced. I think that's very important. And secondly, I hope that you can also bring this back to the Commission. Please do not make the people feel that the administration is trying to employ a delaying tactic again on this issue to resolve the problem. You really have to come up with a specific timetable as to what you're going to do. Well, apparently, there is a saying that you're just trying to buy time so that you wait until after the second half of this year to decide on the way forward. Indeed, I don't want to give you a hard time whenever you come. So every time you make a statement and then would say that we don't trust you, we don't really want to have that sort of motion carried every time when we have a meeting. I really don't want to make your life difficult, okay? We will have to fix the date for the next meeting. All right, tomorrow is already the 28th. And then I hope that next month we can have another meeting on the 24th. We only have slots available on Monday and Tuesday. All right, 24th, 10:45 is a Monday. Is that okay? I think the work of the Commission will require some time to complete this task. I'll be more than happy to talk to you, but then if we have to come every month, then we simply have no progress to report. So it will take some time for the Commission to work. Or else I'll just be chanting the same official line again every time. So we don't really have to have monthly meetings. So members, can we extend the meeting by another 10 minutes? Because I really like to engage in a dialogue with the administration. Agreed?
我想講嘅局長。
Mr. Zhang, you may wish to record what we did for minimum wage. You were very good. And minimum wage was handled properly. And then there were breakfast meetings. You might say that it was easier. I would say this is all, it's the same. It's a problem which has been around for a long time. So we are here to reflect views from people who would like to have universal suffrage, universal retirement protection. What if the Commission or the working group is still working on something? Then there's very little that we can give an account on. So I don't mind coming to meet you on a monthly basis, but you have to bear in mind that we may have very little to report. The Secretary may have a point, but that would mean that we don't even have a meeting in another 3 months, because to them 3 months will still be a short period of time. So can we have something in parallel They can have their meetings, but we can also be given the raw data. Otherwise, it would not be nice to ask the subcommittee to agree or not agree with the Commission on certain courses of action. Well, I think for members who are on both sides, we would be trying to forge a consensus. Otherwise, there is no way for this subcommittee to be a participant. Well, we work very hard, but you please understand that at some stage, well, we may have to disappoint you because there's nothing substantial that we can report on. For example, there's no data for the time being. Well, I think you cannot convince us. You know the chairman and the deputy chairman of the subcommittee. Thank you for reminding us, Secretary, for that there are four points in Professor Charles' report. Secretary, you may be under pressure from some other quarters. Please tell them that it won't do. The council wouldn't have it. We can have a chat. There's always some way that we can handle our meetings. So we cannot agree to your proposed arrangement. Agreed? Well, we work hard. Please understand that sometimes we may not have anything concrete to report. Well, you are famous as a hard-working person. So please work hard on this. Meeting's adjourned. The next meeting will be held on the 24th of February. We start at 10:45.